Love this man. Consider him a great friend, not just because he and his wife are wonderful people, but because we spent some time together back in the day at ESPN and have ever since. He is the voice of college football, essentially. And also, he did an outstanding job, as usual, hosting the Heisman Trophy ceremony over the weekend. He's my buddy, Chris Fowler, here on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Chris?
Oh, you flatter me, Rich. You shower me with love when I come on here.
It's the truth.
Right back at you.
These are all truthful statements. Hashtag truth. So let's get right into it with that ceremony over the weekend. Bryce Young was remarkable this year, just remarkable. Do you think the writers got it correct in the trophy award this week?
Yeah, I mean, writers and others. I mean, I think that, look, he had something like 684 first-place votes, and Hutchinson, which, by the way, it's a tremendous job to finish second in the Heisman as a defensive player, had 78. So it was a landslide that I've never seen you go from, like, wide open to landslide. It reflects, like, 2021 kind of lightning bolt speed that things move at, right? And we went from, like, wide open race all of a sudden, and Bryce knows he was a long shot when they're losing to Auburn, right? And in their last regular season game, they're down to Auburn. They're going to be knocked out of the playoff. The offense has 3 points. He goes down there, accounts for all 97 yards on the game-tying drive, wins it in overtime, and then dominates Georgia. And all of a sudden, he goes from being in deep trouble to a landslide. That's how fast things happen this year.
Yeah, and then we're showing the final vote on the screen. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if it's because Hutchinson is so big. I didn't know Bryce Young was so slight, right?
It's startling.
It is, right?
When you see a quarterback listed at 6 foot, you always know that's a fudge, right? Like they're probably 5'10". Like nobody wants to be 5 something,
right?
In terms of quarterback height, but that makes it all more remarkable what he's able to do. To be the number one recruit in the country at undersized, he sort of makes light of that. I mean, no one doubted Bryce Young was going to be a great college quarterback, by the way. I mean, everybody knew he could play, but he doesn't fit the prototype. And thankfully, the prototype is expanding and changing, in part because of guys like Baker and Kyler, who's going to, be in this game tonight. And others have sort of reshaped what prototype is. But he is, I would say, 5'10", maybe,
right,
and very slightly built. Like he knows he's got to get stronger, a little sturdier. He doesn't take a lot of hits because he's so smooth, and they pretty much protect him well for the most part this year. And he's so instinctive and elusive, but he's not powerfully built, which is something you probably want to add a few pounds. But it's remarkable, his vision, all the other intangibles he's got, and then his ability to just be so cool and calm under pressure.
Yeah, and we'll get to the games that are still remaining for the college football playoffs in a second with you, Chris Fowler, here on the Rich Eisen Show. We'll get to that in a second. Couldn't help but notice Jim Harbaugh had great seats behind third base on Saturday night. Chris?
Are you saying he should have been sitting behind home plate or something?
No. I'm just saying he was right behind Ryan Day, who he said, I think it was to the Ohio State coach he was alluding when he said after the victory over Ohio State that some people are born on third base and think they hit a triple. So that's what I'm referring to.
Now I get it.
Yes.
I don't think he gave a lot of thought to that. I tell you what,
yes.
It was sort of like a little celebratory for Michigan because they did get the W.
Yes.
And CJ was sacked and harassed by the guy that he stood next to on the stage, which was a little interesting.
Yeah.
And the guys on the show sort of made light of that, which I don't think everybody loved. But
we did talk about Desmond's.
Everybody, I mean Ohio State. No,
yes.
I think that it was an interesting dynamic in that room, and they're not going to face each other in the playoff, but you obviously got Aiden and Bryce perhaps on a collision course, and CJ off to the Rose Bowl. So yeah, it gets a little. They got along well, but yeah, it was a night for Michigan folks to kind of puff their chest out, somewhat to the expense of Ohio State. But it's been a long time coming.
Well, I mean, so what was it like in a commercial break? Did Jim and Ryan just shake hands, get chatty? What happened?
It didn't even occur. You said Nick's over on one side and Audacy's over there. The coaches were sort of, but yes, they did place them next to each other. I didn't see them like chatting it up in the commercial breaks. No, I did not see that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if there was any interesting asides, because I'm sure it's so quiet in there that you could hear a pin drop, certainly, if Jim and Ryan are going to be talking during a commercial break.
Yeah, I guess I don't think I go over and say hello to each coach.
Yes.
And each set of parents. It's not easy to do that before the show. So in the breaks and in and around the show, I try to pay my respects to everybody. And it didn't even occur to me actually that it wasn't just Harbaugh. I think the Hutchinson family was sitting right behind Or they were literally breathing down their neck. They were a lot of that Saturday in the big house.
Oh boy, Chris Fowler here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so you and Herb Street and the rest of your crew are calling the Orange Bowl, correct? You'll be calling Michigan and Georgia.
Excited about that. Very excited about that.
Okay, so
they've never played since '65. Man, do you know that Wolverines and Georgia haven't played? They've only played twice, and the last time was in '65.
Wow. I did not know that.
I think it was his first year coaching, went up to the big house, and neither school was any good. They're both also rans in their conference. It's amazing they never connected on, the Capital One Outback or the various bowls or Big Ten faces SEC. They haven't played, which is kind of an added layer of cool just to see them on the field together.
Right. And so how do you think, just again, knowing the schools and obviously knowing the sport, the matchup, what do you think that looks like first blush for you, Chris?
Defensive, low scoring. Vegas has got as one of the lower scoring games you'll see at this level. CFP games have been known for wild shootouts, basically, in the era when Clemson and Alabama and LSU brought these big offenses in. I think it's a different feel this year. Cincinnati and Alabama may be slightly higher scoring, but both teams sort of want to be physical and run the ball, and I think it comes down to which quarterback's going to be able to make plays. We saw McNamara make some beautiful throws against Ohio State, take advantage of the play-action opportunities, press the ball when needed, take care of the football, which is what he has to do against Georgia. And then Stetson Bennett looked really average against Alabama after looking good for a lot of the year, at least in the metrics and the analytics. I always felt like, this is no slight on him. I mean, it's hard not to be insulted by this, but I just felt like limitations were going to come into play at some point when the quarterback had to make plays. And Alabama didn't give him any breathing room, came after him, and he struggled big time in that game. So if Michigan can make him uncomfortable, again, I like their chances. I think that, McNamara, it really is as simple sometimes as quarterback play, right, in these games, because I think they're pretty evenly matched, and they're both physical, and they both want to do the same things.
And then, in the other game, I imagine, knowing Saban as well as possible, the amount of rat poison that he refers to in the normal sense this week, the last time was yummy because he was on the opposite side of the conversation. I imagine Cincinnati coming in and playing Alabama, the amount of rat poison, he's going to be like the exterminator. He's going to be just trying to make sure that nothing gets through, I'd imagine.
They brought it on themselves, though. When you look as good as they did against Georgia, everybody's like, oh, yeah. Why was Bama an underdog again? Why did we doubt them? I mean, that was emphatic and comprehensive. So they go into this game as a big favorite. And I'm going to be interested to see how Fickell and Cincinnati approach this. I mean, do they act like this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? We were never going to come this way again. We've got to – in order they go out and play with a little bit of abandon and freedom. And I think that would help because the playoff deal is different. And teams that have not experienced it and don't know how to approach it, and whereas Alabama, all those players have been in multiple playoff games and championship games and so on. It's really, you know how it is in the NFL. It's just different. It's a different level of intensity. And so you say, it's just a regular game. You approach it the same. Okay, go ahead. Good luck with that. It doesn't really work. If you don't match the intensity of Alabama right away and send a statement early, these games get away from people in a big hurry. We've seen it so many times in the semifinal games, and they will come out swinging. And Cincy better be ready to match it early and hang with them. If they hang with them, can make it a close game. Desmond Ridder is more than capable of causing Alabama a lot of problems, but you got to just have to survive the opening rounds, and the heavyweight comes out flailing.
Chris Fowler here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'll give you the floor. I haven't spoken to you since the Lincoln Riley to USC and then Brian Kelly to LSU moves went down. The conversation being that it's just the latest example in my mind of I don't want to hear a person complain about a player not playing in a bowl game. If coaches are allowed to do something like Brian Kelly has every right to do what he did. Notre Dame was potentially going to play in the college football playoff when he did that. So what's your sense on the topic du jour in college football?
Yeah, no, I don't like the direction the sport's going in that respect. I think it's irreversible. Basically, I think the fluidity is hard to stop with the transfer portal, the coaches movement. A couple things happened. One, on the coaching front, Orgeron getting fired was a chilling thing for coaches because 2 years ago he's walking on water at LSU. 2 years later he's out of a job, and it can happen that fast. So I think people feel like, well, if they can do that to one of their own, Brian Kelly goes down to LSU knowing he's got to win because culturally it's a weird fit. You know, he's had, I'm sure you've talked about some awkward moments trying to transition to the Bayou, which is a unique, wonderful place. But I've talked to many coaches over the years who've been outsiders there, whether it's DiNardo or Mike Archer. If you're not from there and you don't get the culture, you just have a shorter rope. So Brian knows he needs to win. Lincoln Riley, to me, listen, I mean, no offense intended to Norman, Oklahoma, but if you have a chance to be in L.A. and resurrect USC, I think he feels like he's gone as far as he can in Oklahoma. They didn't win a championship or win a playoff game, but headed to the SEC, it's going to get even more challenging. I think he sees a chance to immediately inject life into recruiting at USC, which has been kind of untapped for a while. They have not recruited the way they've needed to, let guys go. But just look at these California quarterbacks. Look at C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. L.A. guys, Rich. They're from right there.
Right, Najee Harris. I mean, like, honestly, if you
on
could,
and on and on.
You could take all these kids, some of the best players from Alabama right now, and had they not been poached from Southern California, they'd stayed put. You're not just losing guys to Oregon or somewhere else in the Pac-12. You're losing them to schools across the country. Right.
And so I think he comes in, obviously, able to flip a couple guys. And I think he'll look, there's value in being younger and hipper on the recruiting trail, right? And that's what Notre Dame sort of got when Kelly leaves, Marcus Freeman gets promoted. All of a sudden, you got a younger, hipper energy. And there's value in that in 2021 in terms of the recruiting climate. So I think Lincoln will do well at USC. I really do. I think he's a guy they feel like will make big upgrades in recruiting and make a difference on Saturdays. I think that's what they're looking for a lot of times in coaches who can call the plays as he does and literally make a difference during the game. And a CEO type coach is less able to do that. But Lincoln is the guy that runs the offense. And so for better or worse, it's his show. And I think that he's got a great brand, and right now it's hot, and I'm not surprised he made the move.
So after the college football playoff semifinal Orange Bowl, you and Kirk are going to call the Rose Bowl, right? You're going to be out here in Pasadena?
Indeed.
All right.
Taking a very fast plane, sleeping, and then we just never want to miss the chance to call the Rose Bowl when there's an opportunity, when we're asked to do it. So I think that it's an intriguing game. I hope Ohio State's receivers like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave decide to play. I think it's very much up in the air right now, which would be a bummer. I mean, we talked about that. You're not sitting out the Gasparilla Bowl, though. Sitting out the Rose Bowl is sort of a different deal when you're a Big Ten team. And it's their decision to make. You got to respect it, whatever it is, but it will impact the game. But, yeah, we're pumped to get out there. Utah will bring everybody, and Utah will be very pumped up. And there'll be nobody opting out for them, I don't think.
No, and they'll
never been before. So.
Right, and it's geographically sound as well, so there will be a large Utes contingent that'll be there. You got the national championship game, and then in between, is it you're calling an NFL game? Is right? Is that what you're doing? Week 18?
You say that with a quizzical tone.
I am not. I'm just saying because I don't know if you have time to do all this, Chris. That's what I'm saying.
We're going to make time. We're going to find.
You were great doing the Monday night game, Pittsburgh and the Giants. See, I even remember what the matchup is.
At first glance, it seems like a lot. ESPN has 2 NFL games on the Saturday of Week 18.
Right.
And obviously, we only have the one main crew. Those guys will do their thing, and we'll get I guess the second pick of the game. We don't know what that's going to be yet because it depends on obviously what playoff spots are up in the air. It seems like, as you pointed out a minute ago, almost everybody's in the playoff race. So it'd be hard to imagine these games not having some impact on Week 18 almost everywhere you go. But yeah, it's cool. I love the NFL. I'm a fan of it. We had a great experience. It was right after the U.S. Open, so it was a bizarre preparation, just like this one's going to be. But we'll find out at the last minute. We'll get up to speed best we can, and we'll do the game. And we'll get in a plane and go to Indy, and 2 days later call the championship.
See, that's what I'm saying. You got to. That's what I'm saying. It's your itinerary. I was being quizzical about, Chris, not your NFL bona fides.
I will be trying to get ahead on prep and sleep between now and then, but it's going to be fun. I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course. It'll be.
We're blessed.
Let me get your NFL juices flowing by asking you a question right here. Perhaps lost amongst the fact that you were hosting the Heisman Trophy ceremony on Saturday was a story that came out on NFL.com about Urban Meyer in Jacksonville right now. And there's a big to-do going on right there because the piece was saying at one point he sat his coaches down and made them defend their resumes against his to show why they should be brought back next year. And, you know, that's an outlier, to say the least, here in the professional ranks. Is there a sense that his handling of the losses here in the NFL is the way that he would maybe handle the outlier of one single loss at the college level, and that might be the disconnect here, Chris?
There are probably several challenges for him to adapt and adjust, and the players too. I mean, you can come in and be the drill sergeant from day one, and you can imagine how that might not go over well if you're losing. Right? You know this. If you win, everything's fine. That's a tonic for all the problems. But when you lose, everything is amplified, and I don't know the exact tone of those meetings, defending their resume versus his, if you're going to put it that way. That doesn't sound very good on the surface. No. That's how it went down. But, and making them justify their job, that doesn't sound very good. But who knows exactly how it went down. I think that, look, I mean, head coaches are always going to look to fix things and give themselves a chance to keep the job. Many guys fire coordinators, and then when that doesn't fix the problem, guess who's next? So, but I always thought that it might be a bit of an adjustment for him to the NFL and for the players on that side of things too. And I don't know. You tell me, was the deck that stacked against him in Jacksonville from the start? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you have called pretty much every one of Trevor Lawrence's big college football games. You saw him as generationally talented as he is right in front of you, and you also called a ton of great Urban games. I'm just wondering, based on what you knew of both of them, the way that he would run a program, in Columbus or even before that in Florida, and knowing Lawrence, if anything that I just told you from that article rings true of what he would do in Columbus, I guess is the way I should have more artfully asked the question of you.
I think it's tough there. I think it's tough for players and coaches because you're right about the parallel. You don't lose games in college like they're losing. You lost more games by far in this season than you lost in a career. Or you got to go back years and years. How many losses the Jags have now? What is it?
11, and he had 9 at Ohio State. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's your answer. I mean, he's just not built for losing, and he never has lost like this. And the players haven't either. So, this sport is just damned hard. And when you're losing, it's even harder on all fronts. And I don't think Urban suffers loss as well at all. It's one of the reasons why he was so driven and so good in college. But like I said, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if the deck was stacked. I don't know what to make of it. But I don't think anybody imagined it going this badly. Do you?
No. I think
you didn't have them making the playoffs. I mean, nobody did, right? But I mean, in terms of they're going to finish with 13 losses, 14 losses.
I think so. I think the one thing we can guarantee is those Saturday games that ESPN's going to have is basically not going to include Jacksonville, because I think this.
And I'm fine with that. I'm more than fine with that. Listen, one of the things we're so spoiled, though, Rich. I mean, these broadcast teams in the NFL, like you go in and even a big game involving a marquee opponent,
right?
You might have the other side that's 4-8 or something, right? So you got to go and do the meetings when things are going south. We don't have that problem in college. Everyone we call, it's a big game. They're having a great season. It's tough. Go in there. Hopefully we do the Week 18. We'll have some great meetings with people, and there'll be a lot to play for. And you mentioned like the Cardinals game. Like, what's cool about the league is you can suffer a bunch of losses. I happen to like the parity of it. I think it's one of the weaknesses of college football at the moment. It's just so top heavy. This year, less so. It was nice to see some fresh faces winning conference titles, and have some fresh faces in the playoff. But the NFL, like Arizona, like if they're third in the conference, you got to go through Tampa. Good luck with that. I mean, there's so much at stake. Like a Monday game with a few weeks to go. I like that. I like that part of it.
Yeah, and guess what? You and Kirk, for those conversations, you're the fresh face. I guarantee you, because it's Week 18, right? So you're going to be calling the national championship game a couple days later. The first several minutes of your Zoom or your meeting will be them picking your brain about what you think is going to happen in the game. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. They're going to be excited to see
maybe.
you guys.
I don't know. Their time is precious.
No. I bet you. I think it's,
it is kind of neat when you come in, you get the rare chance, and we've only done the one game, but we've also I bump into plenty of NFL people, on the scouts and so on, and personnel people around at games, and it is kind of neat. You're not one of the ones who are bugging them and harassing them every week. So it's nice to be a fresh face, and
absolutely,
they're a little bit eager to talk to you, which is pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, if you get Belichick, you'll talk Saban with him. You get Kyler, you can talk about Oklahoma. I mean, you and Kirk have quite the Rolodex to be talking with all of these guys.
We need to have a conversation with Mayock on the field in Vegas at the Pac-12 championship game about Kayvon Thibodeau, versus Hutchinson, pass rushers, what they look for, what's crucial about how a team views them. I mean, that we don't smother our college broadcasts in what their draft board position is, because I think you can overdo that. It's a college game. We're not talking about the next level essentially, but it is fun for me to hear their perspective on it. There's a lot of value in how we present it based on how these guys are viewed from personnel guys.
Chris, great to chat with you. Say hello to Jennifer. How's the pod doing? What's going on? Your pod?
It's good.
Yeah?
We have. You know who Jen Welter is? The first female coach in the NFL.
Of course,
with the Cardinals. She is our brand new guest, and she's talking about a lot of stuff, coaching, and from a very different perspective. But she is the current guest, and Lance Armstrong was the one before her. So it's going well. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Fowler, who you got? We're all podcasts are required. And you go back with Lance to the Scholastic Sports America days on ESPN, don't you?
It's a conversation we've never had in 35 years of friendship. I can tell you that. It was a very interesting deep dive into stuff we'd never gotten into. So it was cool.
Where all podcasts can be acquired. Check that out. Chris, you take care of yourself. We'll chat soon.
Out of you and Susie. Happy holidays.
Right back at you. The great Chris Fowler, everybody, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Love that guy. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.